What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're looking over the results of the Baltimore Regional Championships for the Pokemon trading card game, which was the largest North American regional championships ever for the Pokemon trading card game. The champion of this event was Piper Lapine, and she was piloting the Radiant Charizard Inteleon deck, which was popularized by Ross Cawthon just last month at the regional or at the World Championships for the Pokemon trading card game. So this event, the results of it are pretty exciting for multiple reasons. One, it's the largest North American regional championships ever, so the results of this were going to be pretty cool and exciting to look at regardless. Two, I believe Piper is the first non-male regional champion in the modern era of the Pokemon trading card game. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Even if she isn't, it's still an amazing feat to win this regional championship, no matter who you are. But I thought that was pretty cool for the inclusivity of the community, and I think that'll be really awesome for, a lot of girls who may feel out of place, or even just non-male representing people who might feel out of place in a TCG community, to see Piper take down this tournament with the most skill-intensive deck in the room. And finally, also a completely single prize deck winning the event and also getting top 8 as well. I think this deck is probably the best deck in this format. Now we are moving on to the Lost Origin format, but there's still things to take away from these results. So why don't we do that? So let's start at the 8th place deck with Jack Moore's Miltank Morpeko control slash stall style deck. And this deck is showing you guys that innovation is there and single prize Pokemon are back in the game, and creativity is back in the game, and budget decks can get top 8 at the largest regional ever. So Miltank is really good with the ability Miracle Body, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V. As we go through these decks and results, I will also be talking about how I think they fare in the upcoming Lost Origin legal format, and I think Miltank gets a lot weaker because there are even more strong single prize Pokemon. There is just a renaissance of single prize decks and creative decks going to be happening from also from the Baltimore results, but even more so with the new Lost Origin cards. But Miltank was great for this event because Miltank had fallen off the radar a little bit, and it can't be hit by any Pokemon V. Playing 4 of this, in addition to 3 Capes of Toughness, that's going to make it hard for opponents to get through these Miltanks. One, some decks don't have anything to hit this Miltank with. Maybe a B-Barrel that they're going to have to flip heads to even hit for 100 damage or for 80 damage with a double turbo. And 2, the decks that do have counters to it, like Inteleon with the Aqua Bullet attack, it's only doing 120 damage at a time. So that's not even going to one-shot it if Miltank has this Cape of Toughness, and people stopped really adding in techs for Miltank. So Miltank itself is just a great start to the deck. Then we have Morpeko with the Torment attack. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and it can't use it next turn. Now you might say, well, Mr. Celio's Network, we have Switch and Scoop Up Net and Escape Rope in the format and Cross Switcher. This Morpeko is not going to do anything. Normally, I would agree with you, but if you're using this Morpeko and it gets knocked out after they switch, and then you use another Morpeko and it gets knocked out after they switch, and then you use the Ditto to copy the attack of the Morpeko, it at that point it starts getting a little hard to find those switching cards if the decks are even running more than 2 to switch out, especially their V Pokemon, because Scoop Up Net only works on non-rule box Pokemon. So or non V Pokemon, I should say. So the Morpeko is actually amazing against Palkia V-Star, against Arceus, because these V-Star Pokemon only have that one attack to use, and once it gets stuck out there, they're not going to be able to do much about it. Also, we have things like Galar Mine to trap Pokemon out there. So something like a Flying Pikachu VMAX that says, Your opponents can't damage me with basic Pokemon. Well, Morpeko is going to do 0 damage to that flying Pikachu, but then it's going to also say that flying Pikachu can't use Max Balloon next turn. And Galar Mind says that flying Pikachu does not have free retreat anymore. And if that gets stuck in the active for 1 turn, Morpeko continues to use Torment and starts doing damage because Max Balloon hasn't been used. So Morpeko has a lot of really cool uses. Eviltal's Cry of Destruction is going to mostly be for the Mew VMAX matchup to just completely rid their board of special energies, and from there you can just draw pass until they deck out, or you can just attack them with Miltank or Morpeko. But once they run out of energies, they're not going to be able to do much, especially the 4 double turbo energy decks that only run 4 double turbos, no fusion, no basic psychic, and then they have to hope a Silene flips heads to get their energies back. And then we already looked at the Ditto that can copy the basic Pokemon attacks from your discard pile. But the last one to look at is this Regieleki with the electromagnetic sonar to put a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand. So, like I said, if you're just playing to deck out your opponent, you can just continuously electromagnetic sonar items back to your hand, trainers back to your hand, and then Shauna them into your deck to replenish your deck while your opponent sits there and decks out and loses. This deck is very creative. It looks like Jack Moore probably had a blast playing it, confusing opponents with this strategy. It seems absolutely cracked, and I'm not surprised to see it make top 8. Next, we have Isaac, Jeremy, and Joey all playing Mew VMAX. Isaac and Joey playing the same list here. This is the 4 double turbo energy variant of Mew VMAX using no Fusion Strike energies. So Mew VMAX does have some ground to make up for in the new Lost Origin format, because the Drapion V releases with Lost Origin, and Drapion V can knock out Mew VMAXs for 0 energy. So Drapion V is going to be a very hard thing to get around, in my opinion, for Mew VMAX. But Mew VMAX decks are going to need Lost City to get around things like that, in my opinion. So we'll have to see if they go back to the original Mew VMAX build with Fusion Strike energies and stuff, or if they keep this build, just replacing a couple of those Pokestops with a couple of Lost Cities. Next is Nicholas Moffett with Radiant Charizard Inteleon, and these Radiant Charizard Inteleon lists are going to be pretty similar. They're both based off of Ross Cawthon's World Championship lists for the deck. They both added Escape Rope into the deck, which Ross did not play. Escape Rope is really good against the Flying Pika matchup. This was my second choice for the event. I was playing either Radiant Charizard or Arceus Inteleon, and I also tested this with Escape Rope from my first game with the deck, because with Escape Rope, Flying Pikachu became a very good matchup, in my opinion, because you have the cross switchers, the rope, and the boss. So we will take a closer look at Piper's list in just a moment here. We have Makani, who played Ice Rider Calyrex with Palkia. I don't know the exact list here because it's not on Limitless TCG yet, but I can assume it's probably close to Grant Manley's Worlds list, since that's a lot of the Ice Rider Palkias I saw around the tournament this past weekend, and I think that list was already very good. So I'm not sure if there was really much more room to improve upon it, unless Makani was playing the Inteleon variant. I will take a guess at this, though, and say that Makani was playing the Bibarel variant, since that was the more popular version of this deck. In third, we have Drew Kennett playing an under $40 deck, Regigigas. Playing only one Registeel. This was the talk of Twitter. Usually you want to play 2 of every Regi so you can get all of your Regis into play and activate Ancient Wisdom to accelerate energy to your board. But instead of playing the normal 2 of all the Regis, Drew made some room in the deck by cutting that second Registeel and was playing the 1 of Regieleki with Target Bolt to do 120 to a benched Pokemon, or put a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand. And then also 1 of the Regidrago from Evolving Skies that does 240 damage. Also, another thing here, playing 5 stadiums, 2 Path to the Peaks and 3 Pokestops. So definitely the most unique Regigigas list I think we've had from the season. or from since Regigigas came out. Not just the season. This was the first event of the season, but since Regigigas came out, we have Isaac here with the same Mew list as Joey. Jeremy also was playing the Pokestop 4 Double Turbo Energy version, and then of course we have Piper Lepine's champion list here of Radiant Charizard, Inteleon. Now, this list truthfully looks like, or this deck, really, this archetype, if you look at it, it looks like you have a line of Pokemon that supports you by searching out trainers, and then we have Mews that support you by searching out items, and we have a Manaphy that protects your bench, and we have a Galarian Zigzagoon that places 1 damage counter. So how the heck does this deck win games? We have 1 Radiant Charizard because you can only play 1 Radiant Pokemon in your deck. It does 250 damage. The attacks cost 1 less for each prize card your opponent has taken. So 250 damage plus a choice belt is 280, and you just wait until your opponent has taken some prize cards. Now, we do have ways to accelerate energy. We have Magma Basin that can accelerate a fire energy from the discard to a benched fire Pokemon, and also Raihan that can accelerate a basic energy from discard to a Pokemon as long as one of your Pokemon were knocked out last turn. So this is a very play from behind and exact your strategy kind of deck. This deck is very, very meticulous and specific. Anybody who asked me about this deck leading up to the event, if they should play it, I warned them that I believed a single misplay could just ruin your entire game, and just scoop from there and try to play better in the following games. And also another thing with this deck was time management. When you're playing with this very meticulous deck with all single prize Pokemon, playing from behind, playing down to the very last prize card on both sides very frequently, the games take a long time, and you are given 50 minutes plus 3 turns after time is called to finish a best of 3 match. So oftentimes with this deck, you will win game 1, time is called during game 2, and the match ends there with you as the winner. But if you have won game 1 and lost game 2, in game 3, if time is called, that ends in a tie, which only gives you 1 match point compared to 3 match points for a win. So this deck has everything going against it in terms of everything's pretty much on the pilot of the deck. You have to check your prize cards while searching through the deck. You have to make every play correct, in my opinion, and really plan out how you're going to be taking these 6 prize cards with maybe 1 or rarely 2 attacks from an Aqua Bullet, and then cleaning up everything else with Radiant Charizard's Combustion Blast. So a very hard deck to play, a very awesome deck. I really loved playing this during testing, but I stayed true to Arceus and Teleon and played that the weekend. So this deck in particular, I think this deck just dies with Lost Origin because of Lost City coming into the format, but Radiant Charizard will probably still be seen in decks, just not as the only attacker of the deck. So those are the results of the regional championships in Baltimore. LimitlessTCG.com will probably update this with all of the day 2 decks eventually, but I wanted to talk about this and kind of get this video out there so we can move on to the Lost Origin format stuff in preparation for Peoria regionals and Salt Lake City regionals. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon TCG content. Check out all my links, sponsors, coupon codes, my Twitter, my Twitch, my Discord link. All of that's in the description down below. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.